You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from Nvidia to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. It is time for your Hot Options Report for Wednesday, January 28th, aka Fed Day. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of all your favorite options podcasts. Make sure you're checking them all out wherever you get your favorite podcast. We don't judge. And then, of course, if you want to go above and beyond, get awesome exclusives, like I should say, the Centennial panel that we just did last week, hitting the pro as we speak with Tony Saliba and other great special guests, looking back at the history of the options market. It was a banger, if I do say so myself, as well as the upcoming Vol Deathmatch 2.0 and other great exclusives and giveaways and shows. The optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. And whatever you do, make sure you're checking out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. I ran into Nick at that conference last week, the creator of all that data for you out there. And he says he's got some really cool stuff in the offing very soon. So if you haven't checked it out, if you haven't kicked the tires and lit the fires at thehotoptionsreport.com, what are you waiting for? The clock is ticking. Get over there now to check out all the cool stuff that they have for you. As we check out the options market today, was it a cool, was it a hot, was it a banger day in the options market today? The answer, unfortunately, was once again no. It only cost you about 433,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That once again gets us to our old pal, Mr. Netflix, coming in right at the bottom of the list today. Netflix continuing its streak of red out there this week, selling off nearly $1 or about 1% to close at $84.64. The hot option in Mr. Netflix today, 43,000 of the 86 calls expiring on Friday. Average price for these, about 70 cents. So maybe you like these. Looks like these could have been an overwrite. This was opening paper, so potentially you like these better as a sale as we keep climbing to number 9. The Fruit Company coming way down at the bottom of our list today. That is surprising. Also potentially surprising for the Apple bulls out there. Apple giving back some of its upside today, selling off $1.83 to close, $256.44. Had a nice day yesterday. Today going back to the red. It's been a rough year so far for the Fruit Company, putting up 461,000 contracts for the number 9 spot today. So pretty light day for Apple today. This happens sometimes on Fed Day. People like to keep their powder dry to see what the heck the Fed is going to do, and then all the paper has to come in the second half of the session. Hence, sometimes volume on Fed days can be kind of light, and that's what we're seeing today. The hot option in the Fruit Company today, 20,000 of the 270s. Interesting. Average price for these, about 82 cents. The high for Apple today was a little bit shy at 259, so no matter how you cut it, 270 is a kind of a wild strike. That said, do have some earnings coming up, so could be a little bit of a roll of the dice on Apple earnings as we keep climbing to number 8, listeners. This is the artist formerly known as Facebook, aka Meta. Were they climbing today? The answer was no. Meta selling off 4.25 to close, $668.73, listeners, putting up 521,000 contracts for the number 8 spot out there today, listeners. And Meta going into their earnings tonight, so going to be interesting to see what the hot option was. Looks like it was the PARs, the 700 calls, going up 17,000 times today for an average price of nearly $11, listeners. So they're not giving those calls away by any means out there today. Again, this was opening flow. Let's take a quick glance really quickly in the after hours, see if these calls are paying off. You might say that was a wild price, but so far in the after hours, listeners, that looks like a screaming deal because the stock right now is north of 730, almost 731 in the after hours, up 62 handles. My goodness. So if you paid $11 for those pars right now, you're looking pretty good. Again, this is the after hours move, so we'll see. We'll see how all this translates to the open tomorrow. They've been coming after Meta for a while now about their spending on AI. Apparently, they say they see higher anticipated cap spending, and yet shares still up. So folks, not as angry about AI spending as apparently they were just last quarter. We'll keep an eye on this as we keep climbing to number 7, another name that is popping off after the bell today. This is good old Mr. Softy, closing today 481.63, up $1.05 today. But then again, everyone was waiting for the Fed earlier in the day, and of course, after the bell for their announcement, putting up 524,000 contracts for the number 7 spot out there today. The hot option, 18,000 of the par calls, the 500 calls. Average price for these, $5.06 out there. Interesting. Now let's take a look in the after hours. Were these calls, they were screaming winners so far in Meta? Is that the case in Microsoft? The answer is a resounding no. These are screaming losers if you spent $5 for the pars, because right now the stock is $4.58 in the after hours, off nearly $23. So not looking great on that $5 if you bought them. If you sold them, you were sweating, but you're looking pretty good right now. Again, anything could happen before the opening bell tomorrow, but right now, looks like a tale of two tapes in both Microsoft and in Meta. Results beat estimates, but not enough apparently, so very interesting. Meta off to the races, Microsoft circling the bowl, at least for right now, as we keep climbing to number 6, a name that has been doing anything but circling the bowl. This name is up seemingly 25 handles a day for the last week, and that's the case again today. Micron up another $25 pretty much exactly today, or another 6%. Just an absolutely wild week, month, year, call it what you will out there in Micron. The stock's up 10% over the past 5 days, and year to date, the stock is up a whopping 38%, or almost 120 handles in Micron. Just a wild run out here, and apparently continuing today, putting up 570,000 contracts for the number 6 spot today. Micron going out 435.28, and it was the 450s, the 4 halves, that were lighting up the tape out there today. 18,000, nearly 19,000 of those changing hands for about $5.50. So 4 halves, 450s seems kind of outlandish, but you would have told me a 400 strike a week ago, I would have said that was outlandish. So anything could be on the table right now for Microsoft, including these 450s by the end of the week, although the clock is ticking, only 2 sessions left. But then again, if you're getting 25 handles a day, you're looking pretty good. As we keep climbing to number 5, was this name looking good today? This is the Amazonians. The answer was no. They sold off a little bit, off $1.67 to close at $2.43. Pretty much exactly, putting up 593,000 contracts. For the number 5 spot out there today, the hot option in Amazon, 62,000 of the 245s. Average price for these, $2.74. Obviously, they're pretty much exactly $2 out of the money. So if you're buying these, you need Amazon to kick into gear by Friday's close. Of course, we got some big tech names popping off this week. It'll be interesting to see how the market weighs Microsoft versus Meta on the open tomorrow. And we'll see how that plays in for the Amazonians as we keep climbing to number 4, listeners. This is a frequent offender. This is Palantir. Palantir selling off a wee bit today, closing 157 1/3 off 835, or almost exactly 5%. So it's been a while since we've seen a 150 level in Palantir, but we find ourselves there today, putting up 641,000 contracts for The number 4 spot out there today, listeners. The hot option on a pretty interesting day in Palantir was 37,000 of. Once again, we're going to the upside. So the sell-off hasn't seemed to deter folks. It was the 170s changing hands 37,000 times. Average price for these about 38 cents. This was opening paper. What would you rather do? Buy or sell these with 2 days to go, listeners? You need Palantir to get out of bed if you are buying these. As we keep climbing to the number 3 spot, did Tesla get out of bed heading into their earnings? Another name popping off after the bell. Just an absolutely wild week for earnings, listeners. Tesla selling off slightly today, closing 430.46, off 44 cents today. So not exactly a wild intraday move for them. Putting up 1.21 million contracts, so actually kind of light volume for them. The hot option, 79,000 of the 4 halves, the 450s. Average price for these, $6.24. It's like paper could have been overriding these. So let's take a look and see. They are popping off in the after hours. And how are we looking in the after hours? Stock's looking a lot better in the after hours. Rallying about $13.60, right around $4.44 right now in the after hours. So looking good, though. Looks like, again, paper could have overwritten these for around 6.25, in which case, at least so far, they're looking good. They haven't broken through the 450 strike. We'll see if that's the case again tomorrow, listeners. As we keep climbing to the number 2 spot out there today, what could surpass Tesla on its earnings day for the number 2 spot? Well, it's Intel. Intel just roaring back to life out there today, listeners, after having a drubbing post-earnings. Roaring back today, $4.85 or 11% to close at $48.78. So not quite threatening the 60s like we were doing very recently, but maybe making those 50s look a little bit more relevant out there. Intel putting up 1.37 million contracts for the number 2 spot out there today. And the hot option in Intel, go figure, it's the 50s. 57,000 of the 50s. Average price for these about 70 cents today. Paper is probably buying these. So once again, listeners, we need Intel to get the heck out of bed. That said, it got close today. Got up to about 49.25 intraday. So maybe you like these a little bit more at that level. Only 2 more sessions left. Can Intel threaten the 50 handle again by Friday's close? We shall see. And we'll also see what the number 1 with the bullet was today. It was Nvidia. Nvidia closing 191.52, up $3 exactly. So a nice little pop for them today, putting up 1.92 million contracts for the top spot today. The hot option in Nvidia today, 168,000 of the 192 halves. Average price for these, $2.25. And these were close to at the money at one point, got up to 192.35 intraday today. So they were looking a little bit better earlier in the session. We'll keep an eye on these throughout the rest of the week and see how these 192 half calls work out in Nvidia. That is going to do it for your hot options report for Wednesday, January 28th. Remember, check out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. You can't beat the data. You sure as heck can't beat the price. TheHotOptionsReport.com is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. Back again tomorrow with the option block in the morning, followed by This Week in Futures Options. Spoiler alert, probably be talking silver there again as well until we're back again after the closing bell. Another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.